Welcome to the theoretical lecture on basal forebrain and the limbic system. Let's first talk about the basal nuclei and its related structures. First of all, it's formed by the gray matter of the telencephalon below the cortex and is formed by a subthalamic nucleus of the diencephalon and substantia nigra of the midbrain. They're involved in control of the movements, cognitive and emotional circuits, and they are closely related to the extrapyramidal system. There's the basal nuclei arranged into the claustrum. It's gray matter between the external and extreme capsule. It is medially bordered by the putamen and laterally by the insula and connected to the cortex. The caudate nucleus is an arcuate shape of gray matter between the lateral ventricle and internal capsule. This caudate nucleus consists of a head anteriorly, forming lateral wall of the lateral ventricle and bordering its anterior horn. Body of caudate nucleus above thalamus, located in the inferior wall of the central part of the lateral ventricle. The tail of caudate nucleus, inferior horn of lateral ventricle, laterally to the lateral geniculate body. It has an lentiform nucleus. Its superior half arising from the forebrain and also partially from the interbrain. Anteriorly is connected with the head of the caudate nucleus and anterior perforate substance. Posteriorly, it has the white substance forming peduncular loop, also known as ansa peduncularis, amygdaloid body, illuminate substance, nucleus basalis, cholinergic neurons, and the lentiform nucleus also consists of a medial portion, globus pallidus, connected to the internal capsule, lateral portion, called putamen, bordered by the external capsule. Lentiform nucleus separate two bundles of white matter, first the extramedullary lamina, separating globus pallidus and putamen. Then there's the internal middle lamina, separating both medial and lateral parts of globus pallidus. And remember that the striatum is made out of the putamen and the caudate nucleus. It's broad band of white fibers separated basal nuclei with three capsules. Of course, internal capsule in the horizontal section, looking like a mathematical system showing greater than for left and less than for the right hemisphere. Internal capsule extends between the cortex corona radiata and cerebral crus. It's composed of an anterior limb, dividing head of caudate nucleus, lentiform nucleus, visible on the transverse section, containing anterior thalamic radiation, frontopontine fibers, a genu of internal capsule separating thalamus, head of caudate nucleus, and lentiform nucleus, contains corticonuclear tract, posterior limb of internal capsule, divides thalamus, hypothalamus inferiorly and lentiform nucleus laterally, contains central thalamic radiation, corticoreticular, corticorubral, corticospinal, corticothalamic fibers, parietal-pontine or subtopontine fibers, thalamoparietal fibers. The pyramidal pathway is constructed out of the corticospinal, corticonuclear tracts. Corticospinal tract provides fibers from the motor cortex via corona radiata, posterior and internal capsule, most anteriorly for neck muscles, and posteriorly it is for the leg and urinary bladder, crus cerebri, pons, medulla oblongata to the spinal cord. Corticonuclear tract provides fibers from the cortex via part of precentral gyrus to nuclei of cranial nerves, passing through the corona radiata to the genu of internal capsule. Most anteriorly, we have eyeball muscle, CN3, 4 and 6, laryngeal palatine muscles, CN9, 10, masseter muscles, CN5, tongue muscles, CN12, facial muscles, CN7, neck muscles, CN7 and 11. Internal capsule accommodates the medial surface of the lentiform nucleus, consisting of a retro-lentiform part. Posteriorly to the lentiform nucleus, it has the occipitopontine fibers, subtactile fibers, optic radiation, radiating from the lateral geniculate body towards an occipital lobe, posterior tail-like radiation, and there's a sublentiform part below the lentiform nucleus, who would have guessed, sub, consisting of acoustic radiation, radiating from medial geniculate body towards the transverse temporal gyrus, corticotactile fibers, temporopontine fibers, corticothalamic fibers, optic radiation. The external capsule is laterally and separates putamen and claustrum. Extreme capsule also laterally, but it separates internal external capsules as well as claustrum and insula. There's blood supply where the interior limb of internal capsule has proximal distal medial striate arteries. They branch off the lenticulostriate arteries from globus pallidus, putamen head, and tail of caudate nucleus, general posterior part of anterior limb of internal capsule. The genu of internal capsule branch off the anterior choroidal artery of internal carotid, and the posterior limb of internal capsule branches of the posterior limb anterior choroidal artery, and its branches follow to the retrolentiform part of internal capsule. These lenticulostriate arteries, which the medial striate arteries branch off from, are the end arteries, meaning they don't have a significant supply to collateral blood vessels. However, in case of occlusion, it gives a stroke syndrome. Hemorrhage will be located to putamen, involve internal capsule, or even rupture. Some lacunar infects may have consequences like contralateral weakness, loss of pain and temperature sensation, contralateral hemiparesis, and presented Babinski sign, the dorsiflexion of the grip toe. On the right, we see some other branches of anterior choroidal artery. We see branches genu, posterior limb, and retrolentiform part of internal capsule, globus pallidus, tail of caudate nucleus, hippocampus, amygdala, body, thalamic nuclei, substantia nigra, red nucleus, crus cerebri. Here, let's talk about basal-nuclear relations. The striatum gets fibers from thalamus, its central medial nucleus, forming thalamus-striatal tract. Cortex, its motor area, forming corticostriatal tract. Substantia nigra, fibers with neurotransmitter dopamine, forms nigrostriatal tract. These send fibers to globus pallidus and substantia nigra with neurotransmitter GABA. A lesion of the nigrostriatal tract and the consequence of degeneration of dopamine within the substantia nigra would increase a level of dopamine and give the Parkinson's disease. It would manifest itself in the motor system and give positive syndromes, resting tremor, muscular rigidity, involuntary movements, absence of spontaneous gesturing. Negative symptoms, hypokinesia, bradykinesia, is the slowness of movements, and posterior disturbances, Parkinson's, posture, cognitive impairment, mask-like faces. Surgery treated as Parkinson at the lesion of globus pallidus, lenticular loop, or the ventral nuclei of the thalamus. In case of dopamine deficiency, it can affect non-motor functions like apathy, the feeling of no happiness, depression, schizophrenia, and it also takes part in attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, paranoid psychosis. Positive syndromes of schizophrenia are hallucinations, delusions. Negative symptoms of that affect cognitive deficits. Amphetamines and cocaine enhanced dopamine can produce or enhance deep psychosis. The globus pallidus gets fibers from striatum subthalamic nucleus, sending fibers to thalamus and T ventral nuclei, forming ancilla lenticularis and fasciculus lenticularis, which gives fasciculus thalamicus, medial part of the GP, and the subthalamic nucleus forms fasciculus subthalamicus, lateral part of globus pallidus, extension nigra forming pallido-ligure tract, habenula forms pallido-habenular tract, and from its lateral portion of globus pallidus, below internal capsule, we have a lenticular loop. Its fibers enter a force field H. Field H1 is formed by a thalamic fascicle, pallidothalamic and tautothalamic tracts, and medial meniscus. Field H2 is formed by a reticular fascicle. It goes from medial part of GP and perforates the internal capsule, entering force field H2. The amygdalic body is between the temporal pole and the inferior horn of lateral ventricle, connected to some autonomic functions, separated into two parts: the cortico-medial part, consisting of a medial amygdaloid nucleus, central amygdaloid nucleus, cortico-amygdaloid nucleus. Basal part consists of basal medial, basolateral amygdaloid nuclei, lateral amygdaloid nucleus. These connect via the olfactory bulb, hypothalamus and preoptic area via stria terminalis, thalamus, reticular formation, hippocampus, and cortex of frontal and temporal lobes. And dysfunction of amygdala results in autism. There are some other hyperkinetic disorders associated with it, like hemibolism, affecting the subthalamic nucleus lesion as a result of cerebrovascular accidents, giving violent involuntary movements of wide excursion, confined to one half of the body, striatum lesions, giving Sydenham's chorea and Huntington's chorea of the caudate nucleus. The rhinencephalon is, as the name suggests, an olfactory pathway, the oldest part of gray matter of the forebrain, controls human behavior, and it consists of two parts, olfactory lobe and limbic lobe. The olfactory lobe has or also known as peripheral rhinencephalon, has an olfactory bulb, which is an enlargement arising from the olfactory tract anteriorly to the olfactory sulcus, followed by an olfactory tract, which connects the bulb to its posterior trigone, which is its end. There are also medial and lateral olfactory stria diverging from the tracts laterally of the olfactory trigone. Then there's the anterior perforated substance behind the olfactory trigone, semilunar gyrus and ambiens gyrus. They form primary olfactory cortex. And now the limbic lobe. Around the diencephalons, there's the external portion with the subcallosal area, It's below the rostrum, a chain of corpus callosum located at the medial surface of frontal lobe. The cingulate gyrus, convolution between sulcus of corpus callosum, cingulate sulcus, receiving inputs from anterior thalami nuclei, giving fibers to parahippocampal gyrus. The cingulate gyrus also has an isthmus, and it is located anterior and superior portion of the cingulate gyrus. Then there is parahippocampal gyrus, with its termination being the uncus. And the parahippocampal sulcus is located between parahippocampal gyrus and dentate gyrus, with a septal region including paraterminal and subcallosal gyrus and the nuclei, dorsal large and medial septi. The internal portion has an hippocampus, due to its shape named Neptune's seahorse, at least in the Middle Ages, and it is gray matter of the latter part of hippocampal gyrus, without the fornix forming a curved elevation extending through the floor of inferior horn without the ventricle containing pes of hippocampus. Its termination, fimbria, continuous decrease of the fornix, subiculum, alveus, which is white matter, indusium griseum, gray matter on superior surface of corpus callosum, gyrus fascicularis, forming junction between longitudinous stria and dentate gyrus, indusium griseum, and the septoplucium fornix and rectal body are also part of limbic loop, connecting to hypothalamus, thalamus, and the refractive lobe. The encephalic areas, thalamus, stomach nuclei projecting to cingulate gyrus, anterior nuclei, medial dorsal nucleus projecting to frontal cortex, orbital medial part, midline nuclei, hypothalamus, preoptic region, preoptic periventricular nucleus, medial preoptic nucleus, supraoptic region, suprachiasmatic nucleus, anterior nucleus of hypothalamus, receives input from mammillary nuclei, supraoptic paraventricular nuclei, tuberous region with a dorsomedian nucleus, ventromedian nucleus, fundibular arcuate nucleus, epithalamus, medial lateral venular nucleus. Mammillary region has lateral medial intermediate parts, getting fibers from hippocampal formation speculum via the fornix and tegmental and raphe nuclei. Limbic midbrain consists of median raphe, which is superior central nucleus, dorsal raphe nucleus, ventral tegmental area, dorsal tegmental area, interpedunculair nucleus, periaqueductal gray matter. Septal region, hippocampus, hypothalamus, limbic midbrain form the septo-hypothalamo-mesencephalic continuum. It connects emotions with their expression. And the hippocampal rudiments are made by fascicular gyrus, indusium griseum. Hippocampal formation is formed by hippocampus proper, 4 areas, dentate gyrus and subiculum, with 3 layers of archicortex. Properly, it has molecular layer, pyramidal layer, multiform polymorphic layer. Dentate gyrus has also molecular layer and multiform layer, but additionally, instead of pyramidal, it has a granular layer. Subiculum is the transitional structure between archicortex and entorrhinocortex, the rhinocortex belonging to paleocortex. There's then the coronal harmony with 4 different areas, CA1, CA2, CA3, CA4. CA1 is most sensitive for insufficientia, known as sum area. CA4 is known as the area dentate. There's like an internal and external pathway. The internal tracts fibers extend from hippocampus, form the fornix, like cross commissure the body. They divide into precommissure fibers, passing the septum pellucidum, postcommissure fibers, passing the mammillary body, nuclei of hypothalamus, hypophysis, anterior and medial nuclei of thalamus, tegmentum, and reticular formation of pons and medulla oblongata, standard tract, connect the limbic lobe with the diencephalons and nuclei of the reticular formation, pass from the medial nuclei of the thalamus, anterior ventral nucleus of thalamus, atrial laminar nuclei of thalamus, neural nuclei, and nuclei of hypothalamus, with connections to the frontal lobe. The Alzheimer's disease is induced in case of hippocampal neuron lesion in CA1 and may cause short-term memory problems. Epilepsy is induced by lesion at the hippocampus and amygdaloid body. The mammothalamic fibers run from mammillary body to the anterior nuclei of thalamus. There are pleasure centers, cingulate gyrus, hippocampus, septum pellucidum, amygdaloid body, and punishment centers, hypothalamus, thalamus, tegmentum, with the limbic lobe. Deals with experience of moods, emotions, consolidation of working, short term to long term, and to such memory we call intermediate term memory, which deals with minutes. There are different types. Declarative memory is about remembering facts. Spatial is about locations. Procedural, how to do things. Motor, self-explanatory. Basal ganglia loop, there's polymergic neural pathway starting in the prefrontal cortex, its inferior part, then passes through the nucleus accumbens, the part of striatum and pallidum, then returning to the prefrontal cortex through the medial dorsal nucleus of the thalamus. Some of its functions are the emotions of motor expression, gesturing, posture, smiling, submissing, or even aggressive. At a dysfunction, we have some characteristics of Parkinson's disease, dementia, lack of spontaneous gesturing, and face looks like mask without any expression. So with that, I hope you may go to the doctor in case any of these symptoms may occur to you, and I hope you enjoyed this video.